Okay, I think my neighbors are finally done moving things around upstairs. Maybe they're moving out. That would actually be kind of great. I meant to record this video like 3 weeks ago when I was about 50 hours into Dead by Daylight, but now I'm over 100 hours in Dead by Daylight, and maybe even more by the time this video actually releases. So I played Dead by Daylight for 100 hours, and here are my thoughts. And Serby's being a good boy back here. We love him. He guard the piano. So if you're familiar with my channel and what I like to play, I usually don't play a lot of multiplayer games. The last 4 years of streaming on Twitch and being more prominent in gaming as a whole, I tend to focus more on single player games. Why? Because the ADHD brain goblins say so. To be legit, it's more because with single player games, I can pick them up and put them down as I please. I don't have to rely on teammates. If I want to play for 10 minutes and then ADHD says, no, we're gonna play something else, I can do that and not feel like I'm being a burden to my team or to whomever I'm playing it, especially if it's friends. I initially got Dead by Daylight, I don't even know how long ago. Hold on, I should probably look that up. So I originally bought Dead by Daylight back in March of 2023, which coincidentally lined up when I started getting into Overwatch. Now, at the time, I was really interested in playing Dead by Daylight because the Stranger Things DLC was back on the market, and either the Alien chapter had been released or it was coming down the pipe, and I was really excited because those are two of my favorite franchises, and it was really cool that they were integrated into the game. And I had a couple of friends who were playing Dead by Daylight and were like heavily encouraging me to get into it. Meanwhile, then Overwatch kind of came along and Brian Patrick Duckart decided to get into it, and that kind of devolved into a year-long hyperfixation. It also helped that a couple of my friends in my immediate friend group were also really into it, so I had immediate support and we all got into it together, especially those of us who didn't play. And that kind of encouraged me to kind of avoid Dead by Daylight for a little bit being like a year to play Overwatch. And I think what made me not play Dead by Daylight really a whole lot in the beginning of when I first purchased it was one, because of Overwatch, but also because the tutorial system just doesn't really prepare you for the actual experience of Dead by Daylight. I remember I played a little bit on my friend's stream right when I started getting into it, and the way she structures her streams is that you can join as a viewer, but there is no comms, so you can't really communicate, and that was really hard for me. It was nothing that she did wrong on her end, that's just how she likes to run her survive with friends stuff, but it was hard for me as a new player because she was telling me what I should be doing, like, okay, go work on that gen, or hey, can you go for that unhook? And I'm like, I don't know where anything is. It was no fault on her own. It was strictly because I was a very baby player and I just didn't really know what I was getting myself into or what I was doing. So what made me pick up the game a year later? My other friend, James, or Jam Jams on Twitch, he was doing a autism acceptance month of streams, and he asked me to be a part of it. And Dead by Daylight was a game that both of us had that we can play together. So that kind of kickstarted like this new internal monologue of like, okay, I'm now interested in Dead by Daylight again, especially because like I was in a voice chat with James, so we were able to like communicate, and I was able to ask him like, hey, so like what do I do with this, what do I do with that, and he was able to tell me like, oh, so this is the killer, this is who they are, this is what their skill set usually is. And that's why I met the love of my life, Trickster, and I think that explains my 100 hours in the game. The end. Goodbye. No, it does not, but it's part of the reason. So after that stream with James, I had a couple of other my streamer friends who also do Survive with Friends on their own channels. So out of just pure curiosity, I decided to jump into those respective queues, be like, hey, I'm still pretty baby to the game, and both of them were like, hey, that's completely okay, just come on, join us, and we'll have some fun with it. And that's kind of what kickstarted it all into basically accruing 100+ hours of Dead by Daylight in the span of maybe a month, 5 weeks-ish. Who's really counting anymore? Not me. The Steam is counting the amount of hours I played, not me. No, not me. And I think what also happened at the same time is that Overwatch is in this like really weird state right now where if I'm not playing with friends, I really don't enjoy playing the game, especially like as a casual player. Like I have dipped one pinky toe into the realm of competitive, got my rank as Silver 4 as a support main, and called it quits with competitive, and then just reverted back to casual. And it's really not that fun right now, especially with like how toxic some of the people in the community can be with voice chat or match chat or team chat. And I was just like, I don't want to be stressed playing a video game, especially one that I don't stream. Like, I really don't stream Overwatch all that often. Only when I was just starting to play Overwatch and I was really, really excited about it. And for Prop Hunt, because Prop Hunt is hilarious no matter what game it is. Dead by Daylight came in a really good time where I was just not vibing as much with Overwatch as I did a year ago. And just the state of the game as of right now, like I think like everybody in the Overwatch community is kind of feeling it. Even like the bigger, large streamers like Flats, probably Emong, I've heard Flats talk about it a lot, where it's just the state of the game right now is just not as fun, especially as a casual player where you have people calling you out, text chat, voice chat for not swapping to meta, and it's like, dude, it's fucking quick play. I can play Reaper if I want to. Who the fuck cares? So, and I think that's kind of where Dead by Daylight has kind of fit into my hyperfixation to kind of not necessarily replace Overwatch, because I still do enjoy playing it with friends and only friends at this point. It kind of just fits really nicely into what is happening right now in my mental state and what is going on in the game. I will still say that even after 100 hours of playing Dead by Daylight, there's still things that confuse me. And granted, I have not even met all the killers yet, which is like the weirder thing. And maybe it's because like certain killers like you just don't see as often because maybe they're not as popular, they're not as meta, whatever the meta actually looks like in Dead by Daylight, that is still going to confuse me. And same with the matchmaking system, that's gonna still confuse the fuck out of me, and I think it confuses a lot of people too. But like, there's still killers I've never met. Like, my friend and I played Dead by Daylight like 2 nights ago, and that was the first time I ever seen the killer from Nightmare on Elm Street. That was the first time I've ever seen him in my 90 plus hours that I've played at that point, and I'm like, oh, who's this guy? Like, I've only seen Singularity once. I've only seen Trickster like 3 times, not including the times where I play as Trickster. That doesn't count. And I'm sure there's certain killers like I've never seen at all. And again, that could just be meta. That could just be people prefer certain killers over others. For whatever reason, there's just certain killers I just haven't seen yet. And like, I'm looking at my notes, and like, I did start taking notes for when I was 50 hours into the game, and then there wasn't enough for me to continue writing those notes. So what I had wrote down for my 50 hours into game was community, not as toxic as Overwatch 2, and then there's always new things to do / try. So let me kind of break those down, because I still feel that even with 100 hours in. So the community, and I think what helps with the community is that there is no in-game text or voice chat. The only time you get access to a text chat at all is if you're a survivor, you get access to the pre-game text chat with the other survivors, not the killer, and then post the game, you get access to text chat for everybody within the game, including the killer. And of course, you can completely skip that if you want. Like, you can just hit continue on the end screen and just never look at the text chat ever. And there has been people saying like Dead by Daylight will be a completely different game if there's ever like a match chat or a voice chat added in, and I really hope they never add those in, because I think it kind of takes away what makes Dead by Daylight different from these other multiplayer games that have those features. To me, as someone who likes to come and just vibe with a game and not have to feel stressed out about it, not having those things makes me feel less stressed, because it makes it feel much more casual. And I think that would just increase my anxiety to play the game if it did offer some sort of like voice chat or something. And I really hope they just don't go that route, because that just ruins like the casual vibe that I get from Dead by Daylight. And about the toxicity, I mean, every fandom is going to have some sort of toxic fan base to it, regardless, whether it be a single player game, a game with a massive following, a very small indie game. Like, you're always going to have those people no matter where you go, unfortunately. But when it comes to, and I'm going to keep comparing this to Overwatch 2 because I bought these games at the exact same time. Overwatch 2 is technically free, but we don't, like, it's fine. I got these games at the exact same time, is that, again, there's always going to be varying opinions no matter which fandom you're looking at. But I feel like with Overwatch 2, like, it's so, like, the negative opinions are so loud. So what I'm saying is, like, I know I'm only 100 hours in, and I'm not super involved with the community. Like, I've only started training my Twitter algorithm to start giving me Dead by Daylight posts. From what I can gather, the Dead by Daylight community seems like a lot more welcoming in comparison, and there's always going to be that interpersonal drama of like what you should versus shouldn't do within a game, and I think like you're never going to escape that, but like the overall community vibe just feels a lot less toxic. And maybe that's because like I've only gotten 100 hours in. I don't really know that many people in the community as of right now, or I've like seen like a lot of posts about it in regard to that to make me feel that way. So I hope it stays that way. And I still agree with my sub bullet about when I was 50 hours in about how there's always new things to try. I am an achievement junkie. When I have the opportunity to go nuts and get all the achievements I want, I will do that. So seeing how like they're constantly adding achievements with each new killer and survivor or survivors or however you want to phrase it, that entices me because it keeps me pushing to do more and to keep playing the game. Like I've already gotten the adept achievement with Leon and Trickster as like my mains, I guess. I know I still have plenty of more achievements to accomplish, but I like that there's going to be a lot of things for me to do and try, even though like I've only played 100 hours. I'm talking like 100 hours isn't a lot. It is a lot. But in comparison to my friends who have over 2,000 hours in this game, I am still baby. And also you can kind of tell that the sun is setting because it is getting darker in my room. So I'm going to turn a light on now. Boop. Hello, my face is now lit a little more. And also, since like I have been streaming this game on Twitch, this is actually the first multiplayer game that I've consistently been streaming on Twitch because like I'm just having that much fun with it, and it also gives me something to play with my community. So if you want to come hang out and play and do Survive with Friends, you're always welcome to. I found out that like making a spinning wheel that my chat can elect to spin and make me do certain challenges is also really fun. So they can choose whether I play killer or survivor, or if I want to work, if I get to work on a specific tome, or if I have to bring a map offering. It feels like as of right now there's just constantly like fun twists I can add to the game. Even if you have really bad games with people, like if you have a killer who's like absolutely merciless and you get no gens and like slugs all the way through, like you're going to have your ups and have those really fun games with a Mimi killer. Like at least once a night when I do play for like a couple hours at a time, I will get a Mimi killer, and it's always so much fun. Now I get into my notes about like 100 hours into the game, which references the community vibes again, and specifically the last bullet that I added was about the tutorial being a bit lacking. If you're a newer player to Dead by Daylight, I encourage you not to give up with it. There is a lot going on in this game, and that's what made me ignore this game for a year, because I felt like even though the tutorial, like the controls, generally speaking, are very, very simple. You have an item that you can use, interact with, and it's really nice that the game will tell you like, hey, you can self-heal right now, or you can heal with your medkit, or you can repair the gen with your toolbox. It'll tell you an impromptu with those types of things, which is really, really nice, because sometimes I don't know like what button is it, especially when I play killer. But there is a lot of mechanical stuff going on, especially as you see more of advanced killers who do have a lot more juggling in what they're doing. And I'll use Trickster as an example. So Trickster, apart from his bat, which is his melee, he also has his knives, and depending on what add-ons he equips, those knives can ricochet, they can pass through survivors. There's another layer that's being added there, instead of like where you look at the Wraith as an example, who is the first killer I started out with. He's a stealth killer, so he can cloak and decloak. He only has his simple attack from what I recall. Like he only has his one attack, but he can cloak and uncloak, which makes him a different killer in that aspect. Like you have to keep an eye out for his shimmering shadow. It's pretty basic. Now, if you get a killer like Vecna, who's coming into the mix, where he's got like 15,000 things going on from what I understand. My friend politely calls these killers the kitchen sink killers. So it's like Behavior took everything in the kitchen sink and threw it into like a blender and then produced a new killer. And it's getting harder and harder for people who are newer to the game to kind of understand what's going on, because sure, you do need variety. Like if you just have like a killer who has like one attack and like one power, like it's gonna get really boring. It's getting harder to kind of teach how to prepare yourself for these killers, and especially like when you're going into a match completely blind. Like, it's not like you're told in advance who the killer is. It's not like you have any time to prepare. But I guess like what I'm saying in essence with this section about the tutorial is that the tutorial, it's lacking in some ways. Like, it does teach you basic components of both killer and survivor. In terms of like overall preparedness, it doesn't really assist with that. So when you go into your first live matches, you're kind of left really, really confused, unless if you have someone who's kind of guiding you along the way, or if you've already started watching someone play Dead by Daylight and you kind of already have a gist of what's going on, but you just need to put that theory into practice, essentially. That's kind of like what happened with Susie. So I am calling myself an influencer because I have influenced, I think, at least 3 different times people to play games that I've been playing. And Susie being one of them with Dead by Daylight. Susie kind of had an upper hand in this instance, whereas when I started playing, like, I just kind of learned based off the tutorial, and my friend was half guiding me through a live stream while I was playing with her, but like without voice comms, so I had no idea what I was doing. And I've only seen like a little bit of her playing, but like actively paying attention, like, okay, so like these are the controls and everything. But granted, she's also playing on controller, I play on mouse and keyboard. So Susie had started watching me play Dead by Daylight on stream, so was getting familiar with like, oh, so like when you get to third hook, it is game over. If you miss a skill check on a gen, that alerts the killer. That type of thing, because I play more survivor on stream, but I do play some killer, so you can see both sides of the coin. And when she was first starting her matches, I was like instantly getting into her Discord call, like, okay, I'm gonna walk you through how to do this. So she kind of had an upper hand there. Like, I was kind of helping guide her along a little bit, and I pride myself on being a good teacher, but that's also because I have a teaching degree that I do not use. It has to be kept in mind that not everybody's going to have that person or watch people play the game first before they actually dive into the game. So the tutorial needs to be able to make up for that in some aspect. I'm not entirely sure what this would look like. It could possibly be where they can talk more about like, oh, these different killers, like there's different killers that have different mechanics. Like, for example, Trickster can throw knives at a distance, so it's a more ranged attack. Or like the killer things that you have to do to avoid the killer stuff. So like with the plague and like getting sick from the plague. So it's just those things that I wasn't aware of. And I was like confused, like, why is this thing outlined on my map? Like, I'm very confused and being very scared to try new things, and also confused and panicked because who knew where the killer was. I didn't go look to explore, and maybe that was on me, considering that like I was not enjoying Baldur's Gate 3 because I had to explore, but I promise I'm gonna get back to Baldur's Gate 3, and I promise I did like the exploring part a little bit. I probably just didn't word it well in that video. So with that, with 100 hours under my belt, I'm probably gonna go play more Dead by Daylight right now. It's a Friday night. I need to unwind. But I'm looking forward to my next 100 hours and seeing how my own skills develop, and to try out the other killers and survivors. Well, not so much try out the other survivors, but get their perks to use on my primary survivors. So if you would love to join us on Twitch, we do, as of right now, we do tend to play Dead by Daylight every Monday night. And some nights will be single player, some nights will be open to all to come hang out with us. I think we're gonna do a tier list video at some point. I don't know what we're gonna do the tier list on, probably of what I think of the killers and the people who play those killers. Or maybe something fun of like, who would they play in a marching band? I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. Again, thank you to my Ko-fi supporters for supporting me financially on my channel. And whether you be a newbie to the game or a longtime veteran with over 2,000 hours in the game, or maybe more than that, what were your first 100 hours like? Do you remember the tutorial? Do you think these issues still persist in the game? Or do you think I'm just making stuff up, because that could honestly just be what's happening right now? I don't know. I'm very tired and my stomach is yelling at me. I am not a tummy ache survivor in this holy house of this evening. But with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your time zone, and I will see you in the fog. My name's Erin Gray, Queer Variety streamer, signing off.